Cool beans.
Cool beans.
And yeah, I know we don't really have to go too in depth, but I think we got a pretty good feel for like escalating profiles and as we advance.
Oh yeah.
So
What is this, our
yeah,
third, fourth tournament?
fourth, yeah, fifth, maybe fourth,
Well, no,
for
because we
sure.
we didn't come up with it the first year, I don't think, did we?
I don't know, probably not. Probably not.
I can find out.
You should because it's the fifth annual. I feel like at this point I've seen at least one other person do it, and we definitely did it first.
Wow, really? I haven't seen
Mhm.
that. That's
Yeah, I saw
annoying.
it somewhere. Yeah,
They
but fuck
stole
that
it.
guy. Yeah,
Oh
that's all
no.
good.
Yeah. Prospect Bracket Challenge. First year, 2021. So
Dude, I'm
yeah.
pure genius. I don't know if
So
you've heard
this will be
about
our
this.
fifth tournament.
It's nuts.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we're on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
Phenomenal. Doing great, man. Really got some eyes on these rookies. You know what I mean? The
Oh yeah,
Pajama Bowl of 2025 is commenced.
yes,
The
sir.
combine was a bright, beautiful moment in my life. How
Yeah,
was it for you?
it was pretty cool. For anyone that doesn't know, I actually went to the combine this year. I was not there for the whole day. I'm hoping to make that happen next year, but I was there for a few hours, got to see the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running back stuff. So that was really, really awesome. I plan on making that as long as it's in Indy. I'll try to pop in there and at least check it out. Maybe we can do an RDR live episode from the combine with some
Bet your
lapel
ass,
mics. That would be cool. But no,
dude.
that was great. It was really cool to see these guys in person for the first time. Get to see their 40 times a split second before everyone else. So that was interesting. But yeah, I'm doing well. Obviously, we got free agency kicking off.
Hmm.
Some people getting moved, which, in case you are wondering, we are going to cover all that stuff, listeners, I promise. But we are going to save it till next week when the bulk of the free agent moves are done and hopefully most of these trades are done. That way we can just unload it as our final episode before our piece de resistance in
Yeah,
the
boy.
Dynasty rookie bracket that we do every year. So getting excited, and that is basically what we're going to talk about today. We are going to go through a little combine review, talk about whose stock is on the rise, whose stock is on the downward slope. And then we're gonna hit you with a few more profiles and then announce our 64 competitors for the 2025 Rough Draft Research March Madness bracket. So I am pretty stoked. With all that being said, you just want to pop into the combine review real quick?
Yeah,
All right. Well,
yeah.
I think we tend to lean positively. So do you want to start with some guys that really upped their stock? Who's the guy you had in mind?
I guess. I mean, I'm going negative, dude. I'm
Okay,
gonna
you
leave
want to
the
go negative
positivity
first?
for you. I'm sick of
Okay.
this positive stuff. Um, I don't know. When I was watching the running backs, and I know DJ Giddens had a
hmm
nice showing, according to rumors, but I didn't really wasn't that impressed by him.
Okay.
Still, I'm still holding out. I'm struggling to keep him in my top 10 in the
Okay.
class. And then it was the first time I got a chance to put eyes on the Tennessee running back Samson, and I
Okay.
wasn't very impressed by him either.
Okay.
In the drills, he kind of looked a little clunky. I don't know if you got a ton of eyes on him, but he was slower than I was expecting, and just generally didn't really rise his stock. I think this is a really competitive class for running backs, And so I
Yeah,
was
he didn't
hoping
do
to
himself any
see,
favors. Yeah.
yeah, I was hoping to see a little bit more out of him. But yeah, that's my negative. Dylan Sampson. I don't know. I was excited about him, but yeah, he didn't run the 40, and then his workouts didn't really impress me too much.
Yeah.
And so now I'm getting in the film on all these guys, and I'm like, yeah, you gotta do something, man. Gotta
Yeah.
get
You got
he's
to
out
do
of
more
my
than
top
that.
five. So anyway,
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, he wasn't he definitely was not as fast as you want him to be. He did, I agree, looked a little clunky. I still think on tape he'll be better than that, and I'm excited to really, really dig into these guys as the tournament goes. But yeah, he didn't do himself any favors, and Giddens at least did kind of crush it athletically with the
Yeah.
95th overall or 95th percentile burst score from player profiler and then a 4.4340, which was kind of impressive, faster than I thought he would be. But I'll join you on the negative train
Yeah.
with some of these guys. Uh, little kind of not as big of names, but a guy we've talked about, Jaquindon Jackson, didn't run the 40 and ended up scoring in the 26th percentile in burst score. Just looked kind of awkward, a little too tall for what you want out of a running back, and then like athletically kind of did not land where he would have needed to really raise any stock. And then a bigger name, Ollie Gordon was ran pretty slow. He's a bigger guy, so maybe that's not as big a deal, but a 4.61 is not great for running back, especially in this class when everyone's running 4.4s and a 49th percentile burst score. I just think he's a big bruiser. He's a little too big to really get me super excited right now. You never know. Obviously, the draft can send him places. I've seen some interesting landing spots for him. I know the Chiefs just met with him, which would be interesting, but
Sure.
honestly, kind of exactly worst case scenario of what I would have thought. You know,
Hmm.
he would be used very situationally to me by Andy Reid and the Chiefs, which is kind of what I'm worried about for him. And this kind of combine almost lends to that happening.
Yeah, it's definitely didn't catch any eyes,
Hmm.
definitely putting himself in a role player type situation.
Which is crazy for a name that last year potentially could have been a like top three pick in a rookie
Yeah.
draft, you know?
I mean, and the guy like this, like, he's got a ton of potential.
Hmm.
He's going to be a buy for an NFL team.
Yeah.
So if they can figure it out, that's great, but it's not promising in the fantasy community at this point.
Yeah, not at all.
Um,
Go ahead. You
I
got
was
it.
just say Devin Neal was a little slow, and I was a little disappointed. He ran the
Mm.
4.58. He's quite a bit smaller than Ollie Gordon, so to be that slow was a little sad for me to watch.
Yeah, but on the flip with him and Ollie Gordon, well, Ollie Gordon was 49th percentile burst and Devin Neal was 83rd. So he
There you
did
go.
at least have that explosiveness to him, which I do think his acceleration and kind of start and stop ability shows up on tape pretty well. So
Hmm.
maybe he doesn't have that long speed, which will obviously hurt him in the kind of home run ball situation in the NFL, but he does have that ability to really accelerate and kind of explode.
Of
So
course.
that was good to see. So yeah, I'm with you. It was slower than I wanted him to be, but at least he compensated with the burst score.
Heck yeah. I've got plenty more, man, but I don't want to jump in front of you.
Well, those are all the running back negatives I have. I can
Okay.
get into some wide receivers real quick, do you have more running back stuff?
I got positives, man. I thought
Okay,
RJ.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we can go by position. Let's do that. So RJ,
Yeah, RJ Harvey held his
yeah,
own big time.
mm-hmm,
Fourth fastest 40 with the 4.4, and then he rang out that burst score at a 89th
hell yeah,
percentile. So I know he's older, but I think that he's gonna go ahead and take care of business and still, I don't know. He's beaten out a lot of these other guys. A lot of these guys, like Giddens, for me, kind of stayed where he was. There are a
mm,
few guys that slid down, but then Harvey, kind of slid up, which I wasn't expecting. I thought he was going
yeah.
to be more of a sleeper, but I think he's making a bit of a name for himself out there.
Yeah, I'm with you. A guy that we both liked on tape, really smooth runner. and shifty, and then to add that athleticism in there is nice. So yeah, his stock is on the rise. I also think Bayshul Tutin's stock is
Yeah.
going crazy. I think he's going to go earlier than people.
Pashul.
Bashul, I think he's going to go earlier than people expect. I could see him maybe going in the second round, because his
The
tape
second
is
round
good.
of the
I
NFL draft?
I really think so, man. I think there's some buzz heating up on this guy.
Holy
I'm
smokes.
seeing it all over the place. But I mean, the tape was good, and then he came out and smashed everything athletically. A 4.32 40, 10 broad jump, a 40 and a half vert, 97th percentile burst score. And we're talking about a kid who was really good this year. 1,100 yards, 15 touchdowns, added another only 81 through the air, so that's not great. But he did have, I think, like two touchdowns. Yeah, two touchdowns, so 17 total. And then to come out and show this kind of athleticism, I feel like teams are gonna kind of salivate over that. And I mean, maybe it's third round, but I just think a guy that we would have expected fourth or fifth round, I think he's gonna go earlier.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I'm all for it. I was, that was amazing to have the fastest 40. Um, for me, I saw one thing about his
Okay.
combine that was interesting. He had one of the slower shuttle drills.
Hmm.
And I know this is not about him and the shuttle drill, but he ran a 4.41 in the shuttle, and Taj Brooks ran a 4.06 in the shuttle, which is like that's a really nice number, like historically.
Uh-huh.
And his three cone was competitive as well when it comes to like historical three cones. So for him to run a 4.52, which isn't the best thing in the world, but then go and put down, the top three cone, the top shuttle, it kind of showed, like when I was watching the film on him, I said that he was slow fast, and
Hmm.
it just kind of
Prove
solidified
that
that for
point.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like cuts and moves in space were great, but then he was going nowhere fast. And I don't think it's bad news. I think it's nice that we have verified metrics on like the skills that he did present.
Hmm.
So I kind of got me a little happy about Brooks. I'm looking, this guy is strictly draft capital dependent to me,
Yeah.
but not a guy I'm super pumped about. But after having broke down his film, it was cool. I had to at least come back and say something positive since he put down something
Yeah.
decent.
No, absolutely. Yeah, definitely was not. I didn't have him on my risers or list or anything, but he had a good combine for sure. So I'm glad you threw it out there. Well, I'll move on to some wide receiver talk. One of my biggest disappointments was Caden Prather.
Sure.
He just, I mean, wasn't awful necessarily. His 40 was pretty good. I mean, a 4.46 is not horrendous for a guy that's 6'4". But it was really the other stuff. A 30-inch vert is rough. And he was in the second percentile for that
No.
player profile burst score, which is just like, man, I mean, a guy, you want him to be a little more explosive. There was like three or four of these kind of middle school wide receivers that I liked some of their stuff on tape and just wanted to see him show out. And he was a guy that fell a little flat to me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I feel that. He needed a big day to get himself out there with the big dogs, that's for sure. And that did
Hmm.
not happen.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, speaking of big dogs, Tez Johnson,
Oh yeah.
what the fuck? I mean, I'm trying to anyway, this guy's 5'10, 154 pounds, and he's out there running a 4.51. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing with this? I mean, you're too small, but you
Hmm.
gotta be
Gotta
fast.
be fast.
And it kind of just, I mean, there's nothing I have to say about it other than it does not compute for me.
Yeah.
You were a red flag with the size, and now you're coming and not even, showing the ability to be faster than guys that are NFL size. So I'm sorry, but I'm out. I'm out.
I mean,
Shark Tank.
yeah, no, you're that's fair. And yeah, 154 is bad. He was pretty good in the burst, 83rd percentile.
Mhm.
But with the 4.540 is not great, like you're saying. However, kind of to your point, similar to Taj Brooks, like what he's good at, he did have the highest or the fastest three cone drill out of all wide receivers, and he had the fourth shuttle.
Right.
So like he is agile, and I do think a team could use him underneath. But I feel like he's going to end up being like a Tutu Atwell type situation, who we did just see get signed, which is
$10
cool for
million
him.
man.
$10 million man. And I've even heard him called like a better Tutu Atwell, but like in terms of
Oh.
fantasy, like okay, like that's still not good, you know?
Rosterable
Yeah.
Tutu Atwell.
So like I do think a team is going to go after Tez Johnson. They're going to overlook some stuff. But yeah, had he come out and run a 4.3 and then had some stuff like that, maybe people would be more interested. But yeah, for fantasy, I'm with you. I'm out on Tez Johnson, unfortunately. Maybe he'll burn us. Who knows?
What a bummer.
It,
Um,
go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say actually on the negative side of the wide receiver room, I thought Nick Nash was a little disappointing, big
I
time.
agree. I had him on mine too.
Okay, just across the board, slow, wasn't powerful, wasn't explosive. He had the production, he had a nice PFF grade.
Hmm.
People getting juicy about it, but again, this is small school stuff. If he can't back it up with some kind of metrics,
It's
then
hard.
yeah, he's not gonna gain on the competition. So
Yeah, I mean, when you're a small school guy like a San Jose State, you want to
mhm.
come out and prove, oh no, I wasn't just playing against future accountants and bakers and people like that. That's not why I looked fast. I actually am fast, and yeah, the numbers don't back it up. I mean, obviously, combine isn't everything, so take everything we're saying with a grain of salt for the most part. But like,
This
yeah,
is gospel.
you would have wanted him to do a little bit better for sure. Similar to me, is Rock Taylor.
Yeah.
11th percentile burst score and basically a 4.5, 4.49. Not what you wanted to see again out of a guy that like I like some stuff on tape. He's got good size. He's a physical player, good with contested catches, but when the competition level is already fairly low, I would want to see more speed and explosiveness. I mean, when you look at my list of his negatives, it was speed and explosion, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. So maybe he can be a decent third or fourth possession type receiver on an NFL roster. But again, we're not an NFL podcast. We're a fantasy and specifically dynasty podcast. So that's not going to really move the needle that much for us.
We should get our own NFL team though.
Oh, yeah. I've been looking into it. There's some hoops to jump through, though. It's kind of
I think I've got the backing,
okay. Nice.
but some guys that are losing the backing from me, my friends, I was super excited about. Ricky White is the sleeper,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm still on the Pat Bryant love, but these two gentlemen have decided to tie for the second slowest 40 time
Hmm.
in the combine at the lovely speed of 4.61. I can't be doing that with you gentlemen. It's one thing for Pat, he's a big guy. But for Ricky White to come in at 6'1", 184 and be moving that slow, it just doesn't help me get excited about him. So I'm glad these guys are showing their true colors, before
Before
before I
you
go
invest in them.
spending all my yeah. I'm a classic dude. I always take a wide receiver in the third that bust when the next pick is a starting running back. So I'm learning. I'm
Yeah, don't
learning.
do that again this year. Good thing we didn't have one of those pre-combine drafts or anything. That would have been tough.
Dude, I think we
Um,
would have smoked it because of, of the some of the positive guys we're about to talk about. Am I right?
yeah, I will get straight into that. One I'm going to throw out super quick. He only did one thing, but he did that thing better than anyone else. That's Matthew Golden. Come out and ran a 4.29. My boy moving up the charts. He was
Hell yes.
my favorite receiver that I've watched so far. And to be fair, I haven't dug that much into old T Mac or anything like that. But Golden
He good.
basically was like, "Oh, I did that. You're gonna love it. Now I'm gonna walk off the field and let my tape speak for the rest." And similarly, kind of, just throwing this guy out super quick. Torrey Horton came off injury, literally only cleared a couple weeks ago at the time of recording, which the combine was last week, so not hadn't been cleared much for very long before the combine, and still came out and ran a 4.41, and he looked disappointed
Oh,
when he was walking off, shaking his head, and I was like, "Damn, that's a 4.41. Like that's pretty fucking good, man. I don't think you should be so disappointed." So I think he can do better. And I'm excited to really dive into this guy. I think he could end up being like a steal kind of because of the knee injury. Maybe some people are going to overlook him.
all right. Well, let me write that down real quick. Take care of business. Yeah, that was pretty cool to see. That was a name that I hadn't been tracking very, very heavily, but he came out there and definitely looked good, but he didn't quite blow us away as much as Jaden Higgins, dude.
Oh
Are you
my
kidding me
goodness.
right now?
Yeah, a guy that we were pretty universally negative on RDR.
We were definitely picking him apart given the hype, but gotta restart the hype train, man.
Hmm.
Gotta pull that over so we can jump on with it. 6'4", 214, and you put down a 4.47 in that 87th percentile on the burst. Just
Woof.
having a day
Yeah.
left and right. I mean, I think he solidified himself kind of top five range as far as wide receivers go, and kind of my opinion. So,
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's hard to argue with that. I think he's definitely a second round pick in the NFL draft.
yep.
And depending on where he goes, he could be spicy for these rookie drafts. His teammate, though, Jalen Noel, woof, ooh boy, talk about showing out. 4.39, 11 foot 2 inch broad jump,
Ooh.
41 and a half inch vert, which was the best out of all the wide receivers. That gave him a 99th percentile burst score. He definitely did himself some favors. It's going to get a much better draft stock, in my opinion. I mean, he doesn't have the size of Higgins, which obviously people are going to hate. But I mean, 194 at 5'10 isn't like he's super tiny. I mean, he's short. He's going to be probably a slot guy. But holy explosiveness out of that kid.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. It's good to see the pair of them out there just kicking
Yeah,
ass and taking names, man.
absolutely. You got another receiver or?
No, I think I'm fresh out, man.
Okay, well, even though Caden Prather did not show out for the Terrapins,
Mm.
Ty Felton looked spicy. 4.37, 39 and a half inch vert, and he had a 92nd overall burst score. So showing off that athleticism. That is another guy. I mean, again, you're talking about a guy who is not. Whoa, I lost my notes on him. Is not as big as some of these other guys, unfortunately. But I mean, he is 6'1", 183, so it's not like he's short. But just didn't have the size in terms of bulk that some of these other guys do. And obviously, he still has an issue with drops. He had 8 drops this season. But again, if you're looking for somebody explosive that you think you might be able to mold, Ty Felton's an interesting name, I thought.
Oh yeah, man. I was pretty pumped about what he was putting down. These guys that are running these sub 4.4s and they're not small speedsters. They're kind of full size receivers. I'm like, what else could a guy want? You know what I mean? We're
Yeah.
doing it. The future is now.
That's fair. Well, you want to do some quarterbacks and or tight ends real fast?
Yeah, that's all you, player.
Okay. So I thought, first of all, for tight end, just real quick, Terrence Ferguson
Yes.
was nice, 4.6 40, 39 inch vert, 94th percentile burst score. That was good. Good to see out of him as maybe a guy that was getting lost in the shuffle in terms of this pretty deep tight end class. So that was cool. On the negative side, Gunnar Helm, a 4.8.
No, dude, no.
What? Let's get out of here with that. And then at 6'5", he only had a 30-inch vert as well, which is
Gross.
not something you want to see. So I think he kind of did the opposite of Ferguson, where they were both kind of in that middle pack after the really big names coming out of the tight end class, and he kind of went the opposite way. I thought Jackson Dart did not. He wasn't groundbreaking, but he had some nice balls, and I thought he looked fairly accurate, specifically on the deep throw uh, portion. I know that's not the most important one, but I thought he looked pretty good. Maybe a little inconsistent, but just not crazy. But then like Will Howard, I thought was all over the place.
Oh God,
Poor
yeah.
kid was getting booed
Jeez.
in the
Oh yeah,
stadium.
give it to me, man.
Which every time like and I there's a lot of Michigan fans there and it was Indiana, so a lot of hate for Ohio State, but he was getting booed and then it was like the boo birds would start and then he would just whiff one into the ground or out of bounds on the out routes or make a guy turn around when they're running out routes. Like it was not great. So those were my takeaways there. I mean, the quarterback class isn't incredible anyway, and so yeah, he did not do himself any favors though.
Sounds like a future Jet.
Fair enough. Well, all right. So that is our combine review. Just quick for you. And now, before we reveal our 64 players of the tournament, we are going to hit you with three profiles each of guys that are borderline. And then we are going to kind of decide if they should move in and actually take the place of somebody that we have penciled in for the tournament. So I'll go ahead and start with my first guy. It is a guy who was 6'5" and ran a 4.3 flat 40. So that size and speed combination is very tasty. And that is Dont'e Thornton out of Tennessee, wide receiver. 662 yards this year, six scores. He's a serious deep threat ability. I mean, defenders are consistently lining up like 10, 15 yards off of him. And he still ended up with the highest yards per catch in our tournament of guys at 25 and a half. So you know he has that home run deep ability. I already talked about the side speeds combination. He did have a 75% contested catch rate. However, that was only on 4 tries. So, I mean, that's cool, but not a lot of, work there anyway. But I will throw out real quick that I think he's a good blocker, which I think is going to help him get on a roster. He's not like the best blocker in the world, but he's pretty aggressive and likes to move people around, which is nice. On the negative side, though, I think it takes him a minute to stop, which kind of makes him a one-trick pony. Most of his tape was posts and go routes,
Yeah,
which he did well. So, I mean, hey, if you're going to do one thing, do that thing really well, which he did. If you gave him a little bit of space and he got the ball, he was gone a lot of times. I mean, you look at some of his stat lines. Vanderbilt, 3 receptions, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chattanooga, 3 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. So it was kind of boomer busty. But I just think, given that size and speed combination, there is going to be a team that bites on him and tries to use him, and he's going to have some boom weeks. Do I think he'll be consistent enough for you to ever roster and start? Probably not, unless he develops. I mean, he had the lowest amount of targets in our tournament, too, so he's not even getting a lot of usage in college, so he would have to spring to the NFL, start getting usage, and develop into a more well-rounded guy. But I do just think a 6'5" guy that can run 4.3 flat is going to turn some heads in the NFL every time.
yeah. I mean, this guy was kind of. I got on the tape and I was like, wow, like he's quick, he's long, he's beating guys deep, like you said, like every route was a go or a post, and it was
Hmm.
there was no creativity in the routes at all. But there was definitely success,
Yeah.
and he wasn't overly utilized, and maybe there's a chance for that to change because I think he was pretty successful. He had 6 touchdowns on only 26 receptions, which is
Yeah.
about a quarter. Um, and like you're saying, the 25.4, that's the highest in all of college football
Okay.
in yards per reception. So it's there. There's a lot of consistency. The yards after the catch, 10.7. That's pretty incredible too. So I like this guy. And I don't know how much more we're talking about him right now, but I think we should continue to talk about him in
Okay.
the future.
All
So,
right. Sounds good.
okay, we'll just put that on ice for
Sounds
now.
good. Well, you want to hit me with one of your profiles then?
Do I? Do I want to hit you with one of my profiles? Yeah, why not? Why not? Did I forget to learn how to say these guys' names? What about Tyler Suff? Suff?
Shough, Suff,
South? South?
soft.
Soft? Soph? Quarterback at a Louisville.
Mm.
Here's the deal. He was having a good day in the drills, man.
Uh-huh.
He was throwing some nice ball placement, especially when you got like Jalen Melrose over there.
Mm.
Everyone's trying to make it sound like he's doing good. I wasn't sure if I was buying that.
Yeah.
And then you had Will Howard, who was kind of a dud. And then, I mean, Jackson Smith was like, I don't know, he realized like all the hot chicks didn't show up and that he was kind of like hot shit. So he's feeling himself. But then Tyler was over there just like doing the damn thing.
Hmm.
And it looked good. I mean, he seemed like he had a nice arm. I watched a lot of his film. He kind of was like a stare down on the first read. And it seemed to like shorter routes on the boundary. So it's kind of a safety valve in his Louisville film. But then he picked nice moments to elevate to downfield attack, and he
Hmm.
was like a very heads up quarterback. Under pressure, like he always knew, where a good throwaway was or like when to get out of the pocket. Like he really just seemed to have a good pocket presence and like just a sound feel for commanding an offense, which I found to be pretty impressive. He's been on every college in the United States. So that's pretty impressive to go to that many schools. Started out in Oregon for 3 years, and he got to the starter level when he was a sophomore, and he was having a little bit of a nice year, but it got cut short, only 7 games. The guy's got injuries for days.
Hmm.
We'll talk about him at the end, but then he went to Texas Tech, and there he only had 15 games in 3 years. And again, when he was on the field, there was good production, but he didn't play any more than 7 games in any year up until this last year, his 7th year in college. My
Woof.
goodness, I'm talking about this guy. Um, yeah, where he played at Louisville for 12 games and he had, just under 3,200 yards and 23 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. It was a pretty good little season for him. But
Hmm.
all of these short seasons where collarbone broke twice, same one. He had a fibula break. So he's had some bone
Good Lord.
breaking issues. But
Need to drink some milk.
I guess, dude, some cheese, got to do it. But when prior to his full season at Louisville, he had some really nice rushing games. He was averaging around like high 30s on games or on seasons where he was playing full time or part time. I don't know how you want to say, but rushing was a big part of his game when he was at Oregon and at Texas Tech. But then at Louisville, they basically didn't let him run the ball at all. He only had 19 yards in a 12-game season where he had 2 7-game seasons over 250 yards. So he
Hmm.
does offer something there. And I'm not like telling you guys this dude is all about it in the fantasy, but we're looking at this weaker class, I think he has some upside. I think he is going to be one of those, like, who's that round four type quarterbacks that could end up being a camp buzz kind of guy. People are desperate these days, and he seemed like he had some nice characteristics to his game, just kind of been riddled by injury and a prolonged college career. But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I dug into him a little bit, and he does have some stuff. He's accurate. He has a nice deep ball, I thought. And he can kind of throw on the move. But here's my biggest thing. Obviously the injuries are a huge concern, but I'm gonna list off the quarterbacks that he is currently older than
Oh
that
yeah,
are
don't
in
do
the
it.
NFL.
No, don't do it.
Start off a little easy. Drake May, Anthony Richardson, Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud, Jaden Daniels, and now it gets a little worse. Bryce Young, Bo Nix, famously old quarterback coming into the NFL. Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence. He's older than, and he's the same age
Wow.
as Jordan Love and Will Levis. So for a guy to come in with so many question marks and need to develop and to be 25,
Uh-huh.
I mean, his brain's fully formed. How much is he going to develop now? You know?
Well, he was playing like a veteran out there in
Yeah, no,
Louisville.
for sure he is. He is a veteran.
Yeah,
I can't do it. I hope he proves me wrong, but just based on him being 25 alone, I can't invest.
I'm in so many. Well, I'm in enough dynasty super flex leagues. That
Mm.
you got to fill a taxi squad.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
fair.
just doing my due diligence. Okay, I'm doing it for
That's
everybody.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. I dig it. I will throw out a guy. I have two Florida guys coming up.
Hell
I'm gonna
yeah.
start with the running back, Montrell Johnson Jr. Came out and did pretty well at the combine. His speed is not earth-shattering, but a 4.41 is pretty good. 5'11", 212. Didn't have a ton of production, 591 yards, six touchdowns on 100 attempts, which is pretty good, 6 yards a carry-ish, but nothing to necessarily write home about. But I think he's got a solid wiggle, movement, and bounce. Like he's one of those guys that moves around a lot. Like he's gonna make some people miss. I mean, he had 100 attempts and 27 missed tackles forced. So you're talking about like whatever, one on every four attempt or whatever,
Mhm.
fourth attempt, which is pretty good. I think he's a really decisive runner. And this kind of got me. I started watching his LSU tape and I was like, man, this guy's a threat out of the receiving out of the backfield as a receiver. He looks awesome. And then I looked at his stats. He only had 64 yards through the air on 13 receptions. I was watching 2023 LSU tape where he had a great game. He had 65 yards in that game, which was more than he had all of last season. And I don't understand what happened because in 2023 he had 41 targets through the air, and in 2024 he only got 16. So I don't
Yeah.
know what they did and stopped using him, but I mean in that 2023 LSU game, he caught a dump off, made two guys whiff hard, and got like 20 yards, and then on a similar play later, he planted his foot and made a defender almost fall flat on his face and took off up the sideline. Like he has some shit, some wiggle, some really fun moves to his game. My worries about him, physicality. I don't know if he can be a workhorse. And
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a role player that's like a late round pick who you want to be on watch for some injuries. Similar to maybe say Isaiah Pacheco when he came out, where you're just waiting on people in front of him to get hurt. But I will have my eye on him if he ends up in a place where he's like third on the depth chart and people start getting hurt. Just throwing out a game from this year, he had a Wildcat touchdown run against Old Miss that I thought was super nice. Used some patience, used some blockers, and skirted through a tiny hole. There are things to like about him, and I will keep my eye on him, see where he lands, and see what the depth chart in front of him looks like. Uh, but again, I worry about his upside.
Yeah, they were doing him dirty in Florida, man.
Yeah.
This year in particular, I was watching I think it was a game against Tennessee, and he was like lined up out wide all
Uh-huh.
the time. I'm like, they're doing like empty backfield with
Yeah.
him out wide and then never throwing the ball. Like, why don't you just have him as a pass blocker if
Yeah.
you're not going to throw the
Yeah.
ball to him? I ran the stats, man, and with guys over 15 targets, he was third highest in percentage of passing snaps out wide, and
Oh
he had
wow.
that 16 targets, right?
Yeah.
And like the other guys in that range are like 40, 50
Yeah.
targets. They're just like, Gag, just go out there for nothing, please. And it was sad, but I liked his game, man. He's very light on his feet, kind of like bob and weave,
Yeah.
very clean runner. Kind of everything you were saying about him just hit exactly what I was seeing. So I'm a little excited to see what can come of it. He was a raging Cajun for a while. I know that gets
Woo!
you going, and he definitely is coming off of his least productive season. There's some good utilization in there, and I don't think. But we keep getting burned. I feel like we get burned on
Yeah,
these Florida running backs.
we
It
do.
feels like
Yeah.
every Florida running back is underutilized. So you kind of like if you see something nice about this guy, which I think we do,
Yeah.
try to keep it in the back of your head, like you're saying, for that landing spot. So I'm
Yeah,
with you
for
on
sure.
this guy.
Cool, cool.
I'm a fan. I'm going to get into a wide receiver. I'm going with Arian Smith. So
Okay.
he is the Georgia wide receiver. Um, and I'm picking him up because he was the fifth fastest 40 time
Nice.
at the 4.36. Pretty good. Honestly, he was middle of the pack the rest of the drills. Um, but the thing that got me is he's 180 at 6 foot. So he's kind of like tall, slim.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so I was like, well, I got to see what's going on with this guy. Played at Georgia. The production wasn't top notch, but I didn't think he played slim. Like I thought he played a pretty physical game of football,
Yeah.
and he had limited volume, but still led Georgia in receiving. So maybe it was more
Hmm.
um, how things were designed for him. He didn't play at 15 different schools like everyone else I'm talking about tonight, but he put in 5 years with Georgia. Never really took off. No seasons over 200 yards until this last year, where he had 817, only 4 touchdowns. But as I watched, you could see the 4.36 speed all over the field. This guy was quick, quick, incredible maneuvering after the catch as well. He had a ton of really good schemed up like catch and run plays, but then he also had like good leaping and ball timing at the catch point.
Uh-huh.
So I enjoyed the traits that I saw from him. Um, but yeah, I don't know. He had 17 yards per catch. That's pretty solid.
Hmm.
And about 8 yards after the catch per catch. I thought those were some strong numbers. But then you get into some red flags, like Drop City on this guy,
Woof.
man.
Yeah.
So bad. 17.2%, 10 drops on 72 targets that's an L, big time. But I love the moves. I love the speed. I
Hmm.
think that you can improve your drops. But the traits he has are it's natural talent, it's
Yeah.
athleticism. It's the things you can't teach. So if he can, I think he offers some potential as a guy that I'm not necessarily going after in rookie drafts, but a guy that I'm going to remember the name of. So if he
Hmm.
starts to get snaps in the NFL level, I think he's got a guy that could heat up in a big way.
Yeah, yeah, I liked what I saw from him too. Some pretty jump catches, and the concentration is there. Which is weird for a guy that had so many drops because he always locates the ball. It doesn't seem like he's taking his eyes off the ball. It's just an issue, like you said, I mean, he could go do the Amon Ra and catch 101 passes or whatever it is
Mm.
after every practice and just make that better. But he does have some physical skills that could help him a lot in the NFL at the next level. He was interesting to watch, and like you said, he had some good production for a team that doesn't move the ball through the air all that much. 800 yards for Georgia is pretty nice. So yeah, I liked him too. Arian Smith is a definitely a name to watch. I'm gonna get into my last guy here really quickly. Chimere Dike out of also Florida, another Gator, 6'1", 196 pounds. Only had two touchdowns on the year, but he did have 687 yards. They used him all over the field. He was in some motion routes a lot, out of the slot, out wide. That was cool. He looks very professional, very crisp when he runs, very maybe not groundbreaking stuff, but it looks like I could see him on an NFL field. I think he runs through contact pretty well. And I not known that he ran a 4.34, I would have been worried about his long speed from the Florida tape I saw. But if you go watch his Wisconsin tape, he was scorching people up there. So that was fun to watch. Um, I'm worried about his explosiveness, though. He does have the long speed, but I feel like it takes him a second to get there, and he doesn't really have that like initial separation. I'm worried about his upside. He's never had 1,000 yards receiving in college. I think he profiles more as a two or a three, maybe even a three or a four. And I think he has like the Tennessee touchdown that he had was a good route, like an in and out or a out and in route where he just kind of burned the safety or whatever. But the entire time, no one was within like 7 yards of him. And so it's like but it wasn't that he like schooled the guy and got 7 yards away from him. It's just that they lined up so far away from him that he ran this out and the safety tried to like anticipate where he was going and just bit super hard on the out route, which I mean, again, fair play that he did that, but like it wasn't like anyone was close. And the rest of his stuff, I don't know. He can get away from you with that top end speed, but it just felt like separation was an issue for him. Um, Not, at least most of the time in watching him. But I think he's interesting. He's got some juice to him in terms of that long end speed, and I could see a team, I don't know, like a Rams being good with him or something like that. I do, but I'm worried about the upside for old DK.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah, I don't know if like the process of catching the ball just made him slow or stop, but he was not like he wasn't getting too many yards after the catch that I saw. But this guy, dude, I was not pumped about him. I'm sorry. I
Okay.
don't know. I'm like, where are the touchdowns? You can't be that fast and only score twice on
Yeah.
46 or 42 catches. But really, what you're saying about his execution and the routes and everything, for sure, I get that. To me, he looked like he was maximum effort, minimum talent.
Gotcha.
Um, like he was definitely trying hard. So I respect the workout
Yeah.
metrics, big time. Like he definitely is putting the effort in. But
Yeah.
as some guys, I don't have any fear of like letting this guy get
Pass
away
on
from
him.
me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
Yeah,
fair. Yeah, and I mean, to your point, he had 5 years in college, and only 11 total touchdowns.
yeah.
And 4 years were at Wisconsin, and then he transferred this year to Florida. Had his most yards
Oh
in
yeah.
college with Florida, but again, that was only 687, so it's not like he's setting the world on fire.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm talking about some freaking superstars, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh so I'm not like, it is what it is with these guys. It's great pop. All these guys had good combine workouts and are definitely getting a bump from what they did last weekend. So I take nothing away from them. But I gotta speak the truth. So here it comes for Isaiah Neyor.
Neyor. Yeah.
Neyor. Like him a little bit. He's out of Nebraska currently. I'll say he was a three school champion,
Oh yeah.
Wyoming for 3 years, and then Texas for one catch, and then Nebraska this current year. So that kind of is a weird one, but he had a 4.40 with the second best broad jump in the whole combine. And the reason I like that is this dude is 6'4", 218.
Yeah.
So, I
Mhm.
mean, What's up? I gotta see I gotta see a guy this size that can move that fast. I mean, I'm looking for this sounds like a hidden gem, you know. But honestly, there's not a ton of film on this guy. Um, you're gonna bump into a bunch of highlight reels, which is cool because you'll see some great end zone catches. You'll see him using his length. You'll see him like, just grabbing balls that are out of reach of the defender with that length. And it's quite nice to see it. And then there's plenty of runaway. He's using that speed to get some big plays. And I thought the routes were pretty good for a guy this size. He's making some wiggle. He's definitely doing some footwork at the line of scrimmage, kind of setting things up throughout
Mhm.
each step. Which I mean, the rest of these guys were pretty cool. Arian Smith was awesome. But I love that Thornton big time. But his thing was like just burn people,
Uh-huh.
So it was good to see a guy with versatility throughout his routes. So that's what I got out of here. But it was not that consistent. There was some good production while he's in Wyoming. But like he didn't even make a mark at Texas. That was just a year of his life that he's never getting back.
Mhm.
So good to go there. But then he heads to Nebraska this past year, where he got 5 touchdowns on 34 catches. That's decent, but it's only 455 yards. So
Yeah.
we're not talking about like a world beater. This guy is still very raw and risky. And I got to say that this team wasn't really pushing pass catchers. They didn't have anybody over 600 yards. So you have to factor that in a little bit. Maybe it just wasn't, he never just found the right situation, though he definitely looked around. But then you get into some concerning things like he only caught 5 out of 17 contested catches. When you're talking about a guy that's 6'4" and fast, you want to be able to make that a big part of your game.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's pretty um, I don't know, not very impressive. And then he had 5 interceptions on balls thrown his way, which is
Yeah.
fifth in this class, but he only had 63 targets. So that's
Yeah.
a huge portion of his work just kind of ending up going the defense's way. So that's not amazing. But I don't know if he's going to be able to compete with the other guys in this class. But I do think he has size, he has speed, and he probably has, definitely moved the needle in his favor after going through the combine and putting down some of that nice athletic workout. They gave him a second best athletic score at the combine, according to NFL.com. So that's not bad as far as wide receivers go. So
Yeah.
definitely getting some more conversations with NFL teams than he probably was prior to the combine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, that size speed combination is nice. And I do think he's pretty physical and the jumping shows off his burst. But yeah, my big thing with him is separation and like you said, the contested catches. Now I will throw out one of his years in Wyoming. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Wyoming. He did catch 15 of 25, which
Yep.
is quite a bit better. But for a guy that only had 163 total targets in college. 49 of them were contested. So I think that just speaks to his separation issues. Like that's a decent chunk, like a third of your targets are contested catches, basically. And I mean, he did technically come down with 46% of them. So that's not horrible, but I just would like to see those numbers for a guy that is that big and can run like that be a little better. So there's some work there, but I do think the traits could intrigue somebody for sure.
Yeah, those Wyoming stats are very intriguing. I'm not like I'm gonna keep my distance from him because I don't like reading too much into what happened 2 years ago in a smaller school.
Yeah.
But he definitely showed like the energy of a a competitive football player. So
Yeah.
maybe he's got it in him.
Yeah, we could see. We shall see. Actually, we
We'll,
will at some point.
we'll be watching Isaiah.
All right. Well, on that note, that is our final profiles before we get into the bracket in 2 weeks. Like I said, free agency episode next week. But we're going to unveil the bracket right here. And we're going to talk about some of the guys we just talked about, see if we want to bump them up and whose spot they're going to take. But we're going to start on the West. Do you have any nominees to come in through the West?
I think that the West is looking strong.
Yeah, the West is fairly solid to me as well. So we will go ahead and just list that off. All right, so we got our number one seed, Ashton Genty out of Boise State. The number two seed, Travis Hunter out of Colorado. If he does want to play wide receiver, we will find out. Teratoa McMillan is the three seed out of Arizona. Alec Ionomanor out of Stanford is the four seed. Shadur Sanders out of Colorado, QB, is the fifth seed. Cam
Scatterboo.
Cam Scattaboo out of Arizona State, running back, is our sixth seed. Jalen Royals, wide receiver out of Utah State, is our seventh seed. Tez Johnson, wide receiver out of Oregon, is our eighth seed. Ricky White, out of the University of Las Vegas, wide receiver, is our nine seed, the small school standout spot.
Yeah.
Torrey Horton out of Colorado State is our 10th seed. Terrence Ferguson, tight end out of Oregon, is our 11th seed. Jordan James, his teammate out of Oregon, running back, is our 12th seed of the West. Kyle Williams out of Washington State is our 13th seed. Nick Nash hangs in there for San Jose State. I was the 14th seed. Oronde Gaddison II, tight end out of Syracuse, is our 15th seed. And Woody Marks is our 16th seed, running back out of USC for the West. So that is going to be our Western portion of the bracket. We will go over to the Midwest now. Only guy that potentially could be moved up here is Neyor. Do you want to move him up?
I'm okay without.
Okay. We'll leave him out then. Sorry, apologies, Nair. You are not making it in the
We
bracket,
really tried.
but prove us wrong. We'll find out. We've got our number one seed of the Midwest, Luther Burden the second. Second seed is Emeka Abuka out of Ohio State. Third seed is Tyler Warren out of Penn State, tight end. Fourth seed is Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, the running back star, followed by two Ohio State running backs, Quinshawn Judkins at the sixth seed and Travion Henderson at the Judkins at the fifth seed, Travion Henderson's at the sixth seed. Colston Loveland out of Michigan takes our seventh seed. Our eighth seed is Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. Harold Fannin Jr. takes our small school standout spot for the Midwest out of Bowling Green, the tight end. Jalen Noel is our 10th seed, also out of Iowa State. Devin Neal out of KU, where your stomping grounds over there, Daniel.
Rock chalk, baby.
He gets our 11th seed. Kalel Mullins out of Michigan is running back. He is our 12th seed. Pat Bryant takes the 13th seed out of Illinois. DJ Giddens out of Kansas State, the running back, takes our 14th seed. Will Howard stays in there. He was one I thought we could potentially get rid out of. Maybe throw Nair in, but no, we'll leave him in. He is our 15th seed, and then Donovan Edwards, the other Michigan running back, is the 16th seed. Sneaking in there despite some not great stories coming
Yeah,
out about him right now. Well, I mean, not about him necessarily, just like draft stock stuff.
sure.
Not looking too good.
Bad stories about this guy.
All right. Well, the South, we might have some movement here. Do you want to move either Taj Brooks or Dont'e Thornton up?
I totally want to move both these guys up, but I don't think we
Okay.
can do that.
Well, I think we could move Thornton up
Yes.
if we want to take out Gunnar Helm.
Oh, shots fired. Yeah. Okay. Do it.
Do it? Okay.
Do it, man.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Gunnar.
that guy. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about him. He biffed it.
He did biff it
Uh,
fairly hard. So all I'm gonna do, by the way, these are pre-combine everything, and honestly, the rankings, the seedings don't matter too much. It's more just getting them on the board.
yeah,
So
we'll
I'm
see
just
how they
gonna
do.
straight replace him. So we will add him in, and then the only guy that I could think to do Taj Brooks for would be like Jarquez Hunter, maybe. Do you
Yeah, I'm
like
kind of.
Brooks or Hunter more?
I think Brooks deserves a second look, man. I
Okay.
like that Jarquez. I did his profile off the first run, but yeah, man, that's rough. This one's tough for me. I thought we were gonna slot in Thornton where Jarquez is, but yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Let's
You
do
want,
it.
okay, you want to do
Let's
Brooks?
keep
Okay.
Taj. Yeah, man, bring him in.
Alrighty. Well, again, Gunnar Helm, Jarquez Hunter, prove us wrong. But you are already out of the tournament. So our South lineup goes, the one seed is going to be Dylan Sampson, running back out of Tennessee. The two seed, Matthew Golden out of Texas. Three seed is Savion Williams out of TCU. The four seed is Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU. The fifth seed is Jack Beck out of TCU, wide receiver. Sixth seed is Isaiah Bond out of Texas. Seventh seed is Jalen Milrow out of Alabama. Eighth seed is Brashard Smith out of SMU. The small school standout ninth seed is going to be Rock Taylor out of Memphis. Trey Harris takes the 10th seed out of Ole Miss. And then our 11th seed is Dont'e Thornton out of Tennessee taking that
Heyo.
spot. Our 12th seed is Quinn Ewers, quarterback out of Texas. 13th seed is Ollie Gordon out of OSU. 14th seed is Jackson Dart, quarterback out of Ole Miss. 15th seed is Taj Brooks, taking that spot away from Jarquez Hunter. And the
Stole it.
16th seed is Jaden Blue out of Texas.
My boy Blue.
So there you have it
That's
there.
beautiful.
That is sorry, doing some numbers updating. That is our South bracket. So on to the very final bracket, the Atlantic bracket. And if you weren't with us last year, the way the Atlantic works, you're gonna hear some Southern states. If your state touches the Atlantic Ocean, you're over here outside of like, I mean, technically, I'm not counting the Gulf of Mexico
The
as the
Gulf of
Atlantic.
America.
I'm not counting that as the Atlantic Ocean, so that rules out Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, all that goodness. But if you touch the eastern portion of the Atlantic Ocean, you are in the Atlantic bracket. That's just how it works. That was how it made sense to do it. So I don't want to hear any Southern schools pissed off at me for not being called the South. Um, we got three here. Seems like you're not into DK enough to throw him in, but we do have Montrell Johnson Jr. and Arian Smith as options over here.
Yeah, I do like Smith a lot.
Okay.
And I do like Johnson as well. But I feel like we only have one possible guy to pull out. Do you
Okay.
agree?
Um, I
Or is
see two.
Oh, all right. Well, hit me with the facts, Jack.
I think we could slide in Montrell Johnson over top of Raheem Sanders.
Whoa. Rocket Sanders, huh? Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Oof.
Or
Oh. Okay,
actually,
keep going.
I kind of see three. So if
Oh
you
no.
if you're into Sanders, we can leave Sanders. I think
Okay.
Caden Prather
Yeah,
did enough bad at the combine that we can
got
maybe
him.
move him and keep one. Okay, so we'll move Caden. Um, also Elijah Badger,
Yeah. Okay.
kind of on the fence there.
Yeah, let's go Gator for Gator on Badger and then
Okay, so we'll put Johnson in for Badger.
okay.
Ah, hitting all the buttons wrong. Sorry, audience.
They're pissed.
I bet. I'm so sorry. All right, and then maybe do Arian Smith over top of Caden Prather.
I like that. You
All
like
righty.
that?
Yeah, I'm good with
I
it.
gotta say, all this cutthroat stuff makes me want to put Neyor over Will Howard too. You know what I mean? But
Let's do it.
you
I'm
can stop.
down.
Okay,
I'm
okay. Will
down.
Howard.
Will Howard.
Boo. When you
Boo.
started listing the rest of these quarterbacks, I'm like, ugh. Is
Boo.
there anything good anywhere? Anywhere?
Okay, so we pulled a wide receiver, so we went one down, but then we added him for a quarterback. So we're gonna stay at 27, I believe, and then we'll add in another running back. So does this equal 64? It does. Okay.
Ooh.
So then we are good. All right. So Midwest bracket, actually the 15th seed is going to be Isaiah Neyor instead of Will Howard. Sorry, I know you had a rough combine and it just got worse. So I know you really care and he's a big listener.
Two
So
first names.
two first names, can't do it. So our Atlantic bracket seeding is as follows. Number one seed, Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina, the running back. Number two seed, Cam Ward out of Miami, the quarterback. Wide receiver out of Miami, Xavier Strepo takes the three seed, and rounding out our Miami guys, bam, bam, bam. Elijah Arroyo, tight end out of Miami, takes the fourth seed.
Wow.
Then we've got Bashul Tootin out of Virginia Tech, the running back, combine star, takes the fifth seed. Um, uh, Kyle Monagane, I think is how you
Ooh.
say it. M- I could
Yeah, I
be
think you're
wrong,
right.
but out of Rutgers, running back, he's got our what is it, the sixth seed?
Yep.
I'm all messed up now. Yep, sixth seed. Kobe Hudson, wide receiver out of UCF, takes the seventh seed. Raheem Sanders stays in at the eighth seed, running back out of South Carolina. Our small school standout, Marcus Yarns out of Delaware, running back is our ninth seed. 10th seed is RJ Harvey out of UCF. 11th seed is Daquan Felton out of Virginia Tech. 12th seed is Arian Smith, wide receiver out of Georgia.
Yeah.
13th seed is Ty Felton out of Maryland, the only Terrapin remaining. 14th seed is Montrell Johnson Jr., running back out of Florida. The 15th seed is Damian Martinez out of Miami.
That's right.
And the 16th seed is Trevor Etienne, running back out of
Ah,
Georgia. So that
so
leaves
beautiful.
us with a bracket that has five quarterbacks, 25 running backs,
Yeah.
27 wide receivers, and seven tight ends, making up our 64 competitors, which I also believe that means Miami is the most represented school now that we took Gunnar Helm out with four participants. So
I like
there.
that. I gotta say they would have made the college football playoffs if we
If
were
we
on
were,
the council,
yeah,
man.
I think they would have. Yeah, they got a little screwed there, but there you have it. There's our 64. I will put up a picture of the entire tournament. If you want to download it, I'll put it up on our Twitter probably, so you can
Hey,
take it, print it, and kind of and try to follow along with us. But until next week, which join us next week for the free agency review. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
stay awesome.